Australian made and owned, Hi-Tech Oils is one of the largest oil blenders in Australia with a truly national profile, supplying an extensive range of oils, coolant, grease, batteries and much more for all businesses and consumer needs. Choose Hi-Tech Oils for peace of mind.
Production sports. It's a category for superseded GT cars and also for production-based sports cars. Some iconic brands in this category, including Ferrari, Audi and Porsche, just to name a few. Now, with a huge grid of almost 50 drivers lining up, it's very important for these guys to make sure they get a great grid position in qualifying. It is a huge weekend for them at the mountain, so let's check in with some of our drivers.
Adam and I have been driving together for about 15 years, I think, as a partnership. I used to say to Adam, you know, you'll never make it anywhere until you can beat your old man, and now he's beat me. I'm cooked. Oh, the track's just awesome. The surface is awesome. The straights, the bends, the tight stuff, it really tests you mentally. To me, it's the best track in the world, I would say, and it scares you. So you're not racing unless you're frightened out there. So.
Given that Bathurst is a pretty daunting track and there's lots of walls everywhere, you can have red and yellow flag sessions just due to the nature of there being no second chances here. Every time you do a lap around here, you scare yourself a little bit more, or you just find that corner where you can go a little bit faster. So, look, I just smile from corner to corner. We'll put it that way.
You've got to have the ultimate respect for the mountain, and it doesn't matter whenever or how often you come here, it's a really special place, and you've got to have your wits about you. You've got to be patient, and it tests you.
That's the challenge for us, is to try and get a clean lap, but it's very difficult, particularly across the top of the track from the cutting through there with the slower cars, so that you don't take too much risk to either one of you. So you have to be patient and try and get a gap. So it's very challenging, and that's the difference between getting a good time and an average time.
First thing I said was, I can't swear, so I'll just say, fast. It's fast, and you know, you can't get it wrong.
It's going to be a very exciting race with this category. Really looking forward to seeing who takes this one home. And of course, that start is crucial with almost 50 drivers lining up on this grid. In the meantime, it is up to the boys in the booth.
Thank you, Emma and Francesco, bringing us some updates from down in the paddock area. Big contingent of cars in all of the support categories here at Mount Panorama this weekend. So there will be one compulsory pit stop for all cars in the field. The pit window opens at 20 minutes and closes at 40 minutes. In the case of the two driver teams, they will swap drivers. In the case of the single driver teams, that driver will stay behind the wheel, but they will still have to remain stationary in their pit bay for 60 seconds.
It's going to take a wee while to get these cars lined up.
And into the pits comes John Morris. Now, the reason that he's doing that is because he's actually not comfortable with doing the standing start. So rather than lining up on the grid, he has elected to start from pit lane.
It's not the worst idea, to be honest. It means he'll avoid any carnage at Hell Corner, if there is any. There's the Higgin and Gaunt car on pole position. You won't miss that one. These cars in liveries that are perhaps unfamiliar, because these are the liveries of these cars. They have their own sponsors. They're not throwback liveries. They're not anyone else's liveries. These are the cars that the teams and drivers have done the commercial deals for. So the two Audis on the front row. And how will they get off the line? Remember, only two-wheel drive, the Audis. They were never allowed to have the Quattro in the GT3 cars. Oh my goodness, I've just seen the 92 Mazda MX-5 like no Mazda I've ever seen before.
It's pretty fast for an MX-5, that one. Turbocharged engine. It's Steve McClellan's car down from Queensland. They had some overheating issues with that car yesterday, which they were hopeful of getting resolved. But we're ready for a race start here. 60 minutes on the clock. Happy Easter Mount Panorama. We're going to kick it off with 1 hour of production sports car racing around this magnificent 6.2 kilometre racetrack. We are in the hands of the starters. Gary Higgin on pole position. Yazza Shahin from the Ben Motorsport Phillip Park joining him on the front row. The revs rise here at Mount Panorama. The drivers concentrate hard, and we've had the Ginetta of Adam and Craig Burgess. Looks like it's jumped the start, and in fact it's actually stopped across the racetrack, so he clearly stops the car, stalled it, has not been able to get it restarted. Again, the two Ash Seymour Motorsport Porsches side by side into Hell Corner, and it's an Audi drag race up Mountain Straight for the first time.
And Danny Stuttard decided to take the grass there in the white number 25. Both those team cars together. There's nothing between the two front row cars. The two Audis have had an absolutely perfect start, but from the outside of the front row, it's going to be Yazza Shaheen who goes through and leads at Griffin Bend. And we've got yellow flags on the start line in front of us for that Ginetta that pulled out of line. I wonder if that clutch was dragging just a little bit, and he tried to get out of the way so that he didn't hold everybody else up. I think they'll get that cleared before the cars come back around, so long as it hasn't stuck in gear, and it hasn't. We can see that from the commentary box position here, and that's great work. And the 994 Brightpoint Group, Adam Burgess and Craig Burgess, Ginetta G50, the 3.7 Ford V6 engine car, is going to be pulled out of the way. Great work by our volunteer marshals, and thanks to all of them this weekend as well, of course.
Outstanding job from the officials to get that car hooked up so quickly, but it's a shame there for the father and son combination of Adam and Craig Burgess, who've had lots of success in international endurance races, and we've had the KFC Audi of Gary Higgin in the wall coming down through the S's. That was the car that was running in second position at the time. Gary Higgin has fenced it on lap number 1.
And it's left front suspension damage on that car. He's been in the wall. And now, can he get that car to a place of safety, or are we going to see the intervention of the safety car? Lots of people making hay in the sunshine early on as they make up positions. Now, was he challenging for the lead there with Shaheen? Remember, had jumped ahead at Griffin Bend and up the mountain for the first time. They're coming back down to the start-finish line. And where is Shaheen? Well, he's through and comes down towards us now, and the yellows are out. Yes, safety car board is out, and we've got the slippery surface flag as well at the start-finish line as through comes the leader. Everybody else slowing down. The big BMW that came through the field sitting in second position. Look at an absolute picture in front of a trio of Porsches.
That's Dean Grant's car there, so the safety car's actually come out ahead of the second place car, so it's not picked up the race leader, but Dean Grant, that's the car that we saw raced in the Australian GT Championship previously by Stephen Richards. As we see that Gary Higgin has managed to get the number 24 car mobile, but you can see there by the way that that car's wobbling around on the exit of Forest Elbow that will be terminal suspension damage to the left-hand side of that car.
Now, what happened here? He's dropped away from the leader just a little bit. And was it just a misjudgment on coldish tyres as he went through? Yes, it was. He was off in the early part of the S's there. Well, that was an odd one because he's gone in hard on the left-hand side. Did he? I don't think he brushed the right-hand wall from what we saw there. Very, very odd. He's come to a halt at the bottom of Conrod Straight, so this is going to require, I think, a tow to get that car in. Let's check in with Mark while we've got the opportunity.
We're down here with Bathurst 1000 winner Luke Hilden. Tough start there for the Audi camp this morning.
Yeah, sure is. A big high from yesterday. Gary was pretty pumped. I think he was pretty nervous about starting on pole today and doing a good job, but obviously something's caught him out there. We haven't quite seen how it started, but obviously we've seen the end of it, so looks like day done for us.
Still, any weekend you can drive a GT3 car around Bathurst is pretty good.
Absolutely, and especially the configuration it's in now. I mean, we had a lot of traffic yesterday and still did a 1.9, you know what I mean? So that car's probably capable of a 2 minute or sub 2 minute. So it would have been nice to have a bit of a crack at that today, but yeah, not to be.
We'll see you back next time.
Absolutely, cheers.
But the good news is that the safety car is in pit lane and we are back to green racing conditions. 15 minutes and 45 seconds down, 44 minutes and 15 seconds remaining, and only 4 minutes until the pit window opens, and it's Yazza Shaheen who leads them away.
And he got a great restart there, did absolutely what he needed to do with the BMW in second place. Not really up under the rear wing of that Audi when they came round. Safety car dived in. We were listening to Mark, but then it's Porsche's third, fourth and fifth. And going through there, the 26 Sam Fillmore car ahead of the other white Porsche in there, which I think is the 25, isn't it? That's the Danny Stuttard car. But ahead of them both is Stephen Voigt and Aaron Teb's Porsche 997 Cup R. So the Porsches coming alive early. They'll still be trying to get heat in the tyres. Next up, the number 93 is one of those marked cars, and that is Jake Camilleri in that brand new Mazda 3 shaped car that has been built for him to do this championship. That looks absolutely a picture as well, of course. Should do as it's new. The two Porsches then battling together. Plain white Porsches, can't beat it. Looks fantastic. I've got a GT3 touring this weekend that doesn't have the big back wing on, and it's been a long time since I've driven a white Porsche, and there is just something about that Grand Prix white colour that just looks right on a Porsche.
And those two Ashley Seawood Motorsport Porsche drivers have been pretty much inseparable all weekend. Danny Stuttard and Sam Fillmore. We've seen them racing nose to tail, and it was Sam Fillmore who managed to get ahead of Danny Stuttard heading up Mountain Straight on that first lap after the restart. And they're actually doing a really good job, those two, because they're Porsche Cup cars, but they're up mixing it with theoretically faster GT3 cars.
Well, Cup cars don't have quite so much aero, so they'll be quicker down the tubes, and that's exactly what's happening as Sam closes up into the aero wake of the third place Porsche ahead of him, that number 29 car that's sitting there for Stephen Voigt and Aaron Tebb. Now, who started that? Was it Stephen that started the car? No, it was. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Second place BMW comes through Murray's, and then the Porsche battle, and it's three Porsches back together again. And they're going to be at it hammer and tongs. We've lost about a quarter of the race to the first, and hopefully the only intervention from the High-Tech Oils safety car. So third, fourth and fifth together through Hell Corner.
We managed to get up to 25 laps being completed in the 60-minute race duration yesterday. Not quite sure we'll get that number of laps in due to that extended safety car intervention that we've had this morning. But Stephen Voigt, very experienced driver. He's done racing not just in sports and GT cars, but in big V8 sports sedans as well, and even a bit of V8 supercar racing, but under some pressure at the moment from the duo of Sam Fillmore and Danny Stuttard.
Yeah, and Sam Fillmore, that is a Gen 2 car by the look of it, so it does have a slightly different aero package than the Gen 1 Cup cars, and they tweaked the engine a little bit with electronics as well. Different interior. It's got the escape hatch in the roof as well that you see the RSRs that run at Le Mans. All of that safety equipment filtering back to the Cup cars, and these, so three different Porsches there, because I don't think the Stuttard car is a Gen 2 car. Just trying to see.
It's not. It's a 991 Gen 1 car.
1, yes. I was looking at it's the aero. It's only subtleties on the aero that you can see that, and actually they're harder to pick out on the white car. So three different Porsches there, with the Cup R, the 991 Gen 2 Cup car, and the 991 Cup car Gen 2 all together, battling out for what is third position.
Gazza Shahin's built a margin of 4.1 seconds over second place Dean Grant. Then it's another 6.5 seconds back to this contest for third position. And just lurking there not too far behind the Porsche battle, Jake Camilleri in the Mazda 3 Mark car. And Jake Camilleri had a lot of success in front-wheel drive turbocharged Mazda 3 production cars. Now he's in a rear-wheel drive V8 version.
Don't count out the 6 car that is sitting there in 7th position as well. That's Rod Salmon in another BMW M6 GT3. Excuse me, Rod Salmon in another Audi R8. Rod knows his way around here, and he's always a doughty competitor. Pit window is open, and immediately the 65 car has dropped into the pit lane. That's Jamie Augustine in the Sin Cars Australia entry.
However, Jamie Augustine actually made his way into the pits before the pit window opened, so I think you'll find that that's an unscheduled pit stop, possibly with some mechanical problems, as we see Sam Fillmore starting to get very racy, closing right in onto the back of Stephen Voigt as they head up into turn number 2, Griffin's Bend, at the top of Mountain Straight. And this is where you start to see the strengths and weaknesses of the different cars. As you mentioned, the Cup cars don't quite have the aero of the GT3R version of the Porsche, so they will be a bit quicker in a straight line, but over the top of the mountain, in theory at least, the GT3R should be able to hold its own.
And Camilleri in the marked cars in the shape of the Mazda 3. He is just beginning to close down. Then Rod Salmon, and then Keith Kasulki's right there as well. So there's some names there that the international audience will know all about. And those guys do not give positions easily. They'll be straining at the least to get there. And in fact, Kasulki and Rod Salmon are having a cracking battle as we've got some pit lane callers.
Anthony Skinner coming into the pits. He's been a long time competitor in the New South Wales Production Sports Car Series in a variety of different Porsche machines. He's one of our first pit visitors. So too, coming into the pits, the roaring 40s Ford GT40 of Ian Pretty and Scott Fleming, which unfortunately was another car that brushed the wall at Forest Elbow and chalked up a DNF in yesterday's 1 hour race. And as mentioned, the Sin R1 of Jamie Augustine down there as well. Slippery surface flag on the approach to the chase as we have a look at the driver change taking place in the Roaring 40s GT40, the number 8 car. It's not a GT3 spec car, this one. It's a car that was built specifically for the New South Wales Production Sports Car Series. It's originally built by Mick Mitchell from the Course Motorsport Workshop in Sydney. Scott Fleming, the very experienced, improved production racer, vacating that car in favour of its owner, Ian Pretty. And you can see there on the pit stop for Anthony Skinner, just making sure that they adhere to that compulsory 60-second stationary time.
And the 29 car has come into the pit lane. So Stephen Voigt will be handing over to Aaron Tebb. So he comes out of that third position. So he's dropped out of that battle. And that will now, what the guys who were sitting in behind, the two white Porsches, the Cup cars, they have got to try and get a bit of a wiggle on here and get the performance advantage. Through comes the, that's the 91 Mark II V8, Keith Kasulki.
So he's recovering after that slow start, isn't he? So he's overtaken both Rod Salmon and Jake Camilleri and will shortly be up behind the two Ash Seawood Motorsport Porsches. The reason that Stephen Voigt has come in towards the beginning of the pit window will be because Aaron Tebb is the quicker of the two drivers in that car, so they want to maximise his time behind the wheel.
So counting down towards half distance, still 6.5 minutes before that is the case. Pit window is now open. Yasser Shaheen doing a cracking job. 2:06.4 last time around. He's not exactly hanging about, and he'll be happy with that. And he's on a better lap now as well.
He got down to a 2-minute 4.8 lap time yesterday, Yasser Shaheen. One of the big talking points yesterday, though, as it always is here when you have big fields at Mount Panorama, traffic management.
Yes.
Particularly when you've got a big speed difference, and we've got, looks like a tyre failure there for one of the cars. So
the inside guard.
That might actually be the Sin R1.
Oh, yes, it is. You're absolutely right. It is the Sin. Yeah. It was the space frame around the front that I was looking at and thinking, that looks rather purpose-built.
Look at all the damage on the left-hand side of that car. Clearly he's grazed the wall somewhere.
He's been off, hasn't he? Yeah, absolutely. That was Jamie Augustine that brought that car in. So that's the 65 car we were looking at there, the Sin R1 VTX, with just the 7 litres and 7.024 litres.
So more positional changes happening within the top 5. Rod Salmon ahead of Jake Camilleri, and here comes Keith Kasulki. Winds up the big V8 in the Mark II Coupe and makes a textbook move down the inside of Sam Fillmore. That is the third position.
And Sam, knowing that he wasn't going to fight back there at that position, that's all about grunt and horsepower and torque. And that blue car somewhat out of position, but we're starting to get into lapped cars now as Glenn Townsend in the big diesel Lotus Exige stays over at the driver's left, but there's not very many places you can hide up there. He's done a good job though in staying out the way of that leading pack as they came through.
Glenn Townsend was leading Class C for much of the day yesterday. Oh, we've got the Ginetta in the wall. That's the Burgess car again. So that was the car that stopped on pit straight. They obviously managed to get the car going again, but now it is Craig Burgess who has found the wall at Forest Elbow, nosed the car in, and a bit of damage on the front of that one as well. And guess what? We've got our second safety car intervention.
Now, that's interesting, of course, because everyone's going to hit the pit lane because we're right in the middle of the pit window. It looks like, well, good news, bad news, isn't it? Good news is he hasn't hit the wall, he's hit the tyre barrier, but bad news, he's dislodged the front end of the car.
So that was Aaron Temp who was up his inside heading into Forest Elbow. So that's the reason why Craig Burgess ended up in the wall. Jay, I'll tell you what, that Ginetta has been absolutely hammered from pillar to post in this race.
More hits than in excess this weekend. Had a bit of drama coming into the pit lane. The Lotus Exige and the Mark Cars Mazda, and the Mazda goes over completely.
Wow.
That was the 93 car, Jake Camilleri, who was heading into the pit lane and tried to overtake going into the pit lane. Now, the pit lane entry is part of the racetrack until you hit the pit lane speed limit, but don't forget, we were under full course yellow there, and everybody wanted to get into the pit lane. Now, has the Lotus made it back into the pit lane after all of that? That would be quite extraordinary if it had.
And so
it's the Ginetta that's made it back.
Yep, so that's the car that originally caused this safety car interruption. So they've managed to get back under their own steam from Forest Elbow.
So we'll pick up the race coverage in just a few moments' time, but at least one more around behind the safety car, which means we can have a chat with Mark.
Craig Burgess, unfortunately, that wasn't the way your Easter Sunday was supposed to go.
No, definitely not. Sort of woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning, and it hasn't gone well for me since.
Still, sports cars around Bathurst, pretty cool. How did the Ginetta go up till that point?
Well, once we were let back out on the track kindly to the clerk of the course and our president, Arthur Marangatis, look, it's fantastic. The weather's great. Track's got plenty of grip. We had some fun once we got out there.
So what happened at the start?
Oh, look, basically, you can't see the lights from down there. So I heard the engine start, I revved up, and I just heard somebody say, go over the radio. And I went, and then I realised nobody else was going, so I stopped quickly, and then it wouldn't come out of gear. It just got stuck in gear, and that's why I had to get towed around, and I want to forget about that one.
Oh, that's one of those days. We'll see you next time.
For sure. Thank you.
Safety car lights out. The safety car lights out, and we do go for a start. So now it is David Withers, 35th in that number 116 Porsche, the red, white and black car. He'll lead them around, gets a pretty decent start. Shaheen not able to overtake, of course, before the control line. Porsche's quick in a straight line, and Shaheen has to make the move on the brakes. He does it down into Hell Corner and heads up Mountain Straight. The battle's going on behind them. This is all going to be a bit of a mix. Grant in the BMW still going through there in second place. Dean Grant, that Urban Alley Brewery sponsored car, has cleared. Now the two Porsches side by side, but it's only the 26 that's in position.
This is an interesting race start because of the fact that there are these lapped cars that are mixed in with the outright race leaders. You've got the Roaring 40s, GT40, Ian pretty mixed up as well. He's another car who is a lap down. David Withers just moving off the racing line to try and sidestep some of these faster cars that are coming through. There goes Aaron Temp, the driver who we saw tangled up, and there's been more contact. That's Aaron Temp and Rod Salmon getting together on the exit of the cutting, and looks like Wayne Mack's Ferrari might have copped a bit of damage as well. There's been an incident down in the cutting. You can see that there's lots of cars trying to go round on the outside. There must be a car stranded there on the inside, surely.
Correct.
Rod Salmon's day done.
That's going to bring out the safety car again. Cautions breed cautions. But there's at least a couple of the cars in the wall, I think. So, yeah, I think that was Rod Salmon trying to avoid something on the inside and left. But that 29 Porsche's been at the middle of everything, has it not? It's had damage on the left and the right-hand side now. Question is, whose car is stranded in the wall just before the cutting? Rod Salmon's not happy.
Seems to be a lot of debris on the road as well, just coming out of the cutting. So
safety car is on the circuit. I can only assume that we're going to see a checkered flag here.
We are, yes. So the checkered flag's going to come out. So unfortunately, a bit of an anticlimactic finish, but it is going to be Yazza Shaheen who wins.
Drove well.
Yep.
Drove well. Two good restarts. Flawless in the pit lane. Very good at the clutch start as well. And Yazza Shaheen brings the Audi home. But the story of this one is going to be of the carnage on the mountain.
15 laps completed equals the record for the shortest 1 hour production sports car race here at Mount Panorama. And it is Yazza Shaheen who takes the win ahead of Dean Brandt, Sam Fillmore, Danny Starton and Keith Kasauki, your top 5. Then it's Aaron Tebb in 6th position, back to John Goodacre in 7th, Adam Hargraves, Wayne Mack and Brad Schumacher rounding out your top 10. All of those top 10 cars are in Class X. Jason Miller and Richard Baskus will win Class A. Gary Watson in his 996 Porsche Cup car wins Class B. And Doug Barber in his classic Porsche 911 will win Class C for the 2nd day in a row.
Yazza Shaheen, congratulations, winner of the Prod Sports here at Bathurst.
Cheers, thanks very much, mate. Great feeling. Something I've always wanted to do.
It's been a long time coming. You've had a few trials in a few different categories, but you got the job done today.
Yeah, no, look, it was awesome. And it's not the way you'd like to win, but a win's a win, you know. Too much safety, but the car was great. What a sunny, beautiful day. Awesome to be here.
How did the car perform out there in these conditions?
Fantastic, really fantastic. It was just so sure-footed all the way through the mountain. Really no moments. Engineers were great. Just had time yesterday to really dial it in a bit. Few adjustments today that made it a bit better. So I think the real risk was getting that car behind me, but once he had a crash, it was just play it safe. But no, awesome, and the times were fantastic too.
Congratulations.
Cheers, mate.
Dan Grant, pleasant Sunday drive around the mountain, P2 to show for it.
Yeah, look, great result. The car was super fast here this weekend, as we knew it would be from the 12-hour and that sort of thing. But great race yesterday. Just a few too many safety cars today, unfortunately. But the guys did a magnificent job setting up the car like it was faultless all weekend. It just was quite amazing. Probably the best car I've ever driven in 20 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.